Okay, I assume we are live. So good afternoon to everyone and welcome to the session Big Data and AI for the Financial Sector, Challenges and Opportunities. I will wait just a couple of minutes to allow everyone to join and then we will start. Okay, again, good afternoon to everyone and welcome to the session Big Data and AI for the Financial Sector, Challenges and Opportunities. I think we can start. My name is Vittorio Monferrino and I am project leader at GFT, as well as the leader of the task force Big Data and AI for the Financial Sector in the framework of BDVA. So the session of today is quite packed and we have a lot of content to share. You can see here on the screen all the different speakers that will present today. And you can also see their affiliations and the roles they have in their companies. So the content of the session of today is mainly based on three different pillars. The first one is related to the innovation in the financial sector as a whole. So we will show how the trends have changed and are changing in the financial sector, how technologies are driving changes, and how the external circumstances, such as the COVID pandemic, are modifying the implementation of those changes. The second part of the session will be mainly related to the comparison with the financial institutions and especially the banking sector and the most innovative fintech companies and ecosystems. The third part of the session is related to the challenges and opportunities that the fintech ecosystems and the innovative hubs are having in implementing those changes, and also some very important future insights that could be exploited as opportunities. So here you see the agenda of today. I am starting with, let's say, the introduction of the session, and then I will describe a bit the work of the task force. That is, by the way, the main reason why we're having the session, as well as the content of a white paper that we are going to publish. And that white paper is the result of almost 1.5 years of work of the task force in the framework of BDVA. The second presentation will be made by Tomislav, who is a senior researcher at Known Center. And he will present some digital finance trends and challenges. Those will be based mainly on some of the researches and insights that have been gathered throughout the discussions of the white paper development. The third presentation will be done by Marina. She's an ethical and lawyer expert in AI, and she will present some important info and issues also related to ethics in AI and how regulations and compliances are driving innovation in relation to ethics and biases. The fourth presentation will be done by Marco, who is the task force co-leader, and he's also the AI hub coordinator. He will present some important information both related to the implementation of new and emerging technologies in the financial sector, as well as the importance of the banking sector. And he will make the bridge for starting the comparison between the, let's say, monolithic financial institutions and the most innovative and flexible fintech companies. The fifth presentation will be done by Francisco. He's the CEO of Insomnia, and he will discuss about innovative hubs, and he will also describe the major innovative hubs in the world related to fintech. Then the session will be concluded by Clelia, who is the head of growth and partnership in the fintech district, which is the largest fintech ecosystem in Italy. And she will provide some opportunities and insights related to the fintech ecosystem. So as I said, the first important part of this session is related to innovation. And what I would like to show here is how the companies are changing, how the companies are implementing innovation, and how these last years are making a lot of modifications in the overall environment, not just specific on the financial sector, but overall in the business world. So as you can see from this graph, that is a very, very important info. It is the result of a study, of a survey made from Accenture. What you can see is that during 2019, the companies were utilizing almost 30 or 40% of their budget related to IT operations on innovation. That means 1/3 of their budget. But in the last 2 years, and especially in 2021, on one hand, probably driven by the COVID pandemic, and on the other hand, driven by the fast-paced evolution of the emerging technologies, they almost doubled the budget related to innovation. And there you can see the shift from 30, 40% to 60%. That is very important because it shows how companies are adapting to changes, how they want to be flexible in order to implement changes, such as the one that we had to implement also due to the pandemic, for example, smart working or the other changes that it had. But also it shows the opportunities that the overall adoption of technologies are creating. From this other graph, also related to the survey made by Accenture, you can see how the trend of the rate of adoption of technologies is increasing. Almost all the technologies are reaching the barrier and going beyond the barrier of 90% of overall rate of adoption of those more than 4,000 surveyed companies. And that show how the companies are changing and are trying to implement their innovation strategies. So that was findings or key findings related to the overall companies in the business world. Now, what I would like to stress is the differentiation, but also the comparison with the financial sector itself. Because as we all know, the financial sector is historically conservative and therefore resistant to digital transformation. And that is for several reasons. For example, the very monolithic processes that they have, the procedures that they have, all the different regulations and problems that they have given the different type of data that they have to manage. But as you can see from here, they are also following the pace and the drivers that all the other companies are following. It is quite clear how all the different technologies have been implemented by the financial institutions, but it is also clear how they are making assumptions and plans on how they would like to change and to innovate even more in the coming years. Now, I would like to focus on two of the trends that are showing the steepest increase, at least from 2 years ago to in 2 years. And those are advanced analytics, as you can see there, from 5% to almost 81%, and AI and machine learning, from a 0% to a 73%. That is showing mainly two things. On one hand, that companies, and especially in the financial sector, is trying to improve the analytics that the companies can make on data. And on the other hand, that they want to improve automation and optimization. That is also shown by another survey that reports that 89% of financial institutions are working on data literacy. What does that mean? That means that almost all the companies are shifting to data-driven decisions. So they don't want anymore to just rely on humans, but they want to rely on data, and they want to rely on the analysis that they can make on data. And that is one of the main reasons and drivers, let's say, for the working activities that we have done and performed in the last 2 years in the task force. So the task force was born at the beginning of 2020. And it is, as I said at the beginning, in the framework of BVA. We are more than 20 organizations over there. Some are more experienced in the financial sector, others are more on the research side. What is important in that is that in the last 2 years, we have done a lot of activities, a lot of discussions, and we have contributed all together in order to research and gather information related to the financial sector. Why? For the mission that you can see read over there. So I will read it. Investigate challenges, opportunities, and promising trends related to AI and big data in the financial sector, and to contribute to develop a common approach for the advancement of the financial and fintech sector's innovation. So that is quite ambitious, of course, we do not aim to develop a widely used approach or the pillar approach that everyone should use. What we wanted to do and what we tried to do and what I think we almost achieved to do was to gather important information, show trends, show data, and support data-driven decisions. So what I said before. And the, let's say, result of that, the mean on how we want to propagate what we have done and what we found out, is the white paper. The white paper that we wrote together as a collaboration activities in the last 1.5 years. The white paper that is currently under review from the board of directors of PDVA, and it will be published very soon. So today we will show you some of the most important findings of the white paper, along with other future insights that could support you in driving your innovation activities, or in maybe also have some new ideas. So here you see a screenshot of the structure of the white paper. It is basically the table of content of it, with the main topics that we have discussed throughout this, I think, 80 pages document that brings together a lot of different minds and ideas and a lot of different researches. So the first 2 topics are mission beyond digital finance and digital finance ecosystems, that are related to the introduction, motivation, objectives, vision, and mission of the white paper, something that I just highlighted in my presentation. And then the second section is related to the market trends, challenges, and all the different applications that are widely used by the digital finance system. And that is the focus of the second presentation from Tomislav that we start in a while. The third section, Evolving Digital Finance Towards 2025, is core and quite pillar in the white paper. And that is one of the parts we will focus on today, because it tries to make assumptions on future insights driven by ethics and regulations, something that Marina will discuss about, but also by innovative hubs, skill development, and deployment of applications, something that Marco will briefly show in his presentation. Then we have the fourth section that is called Innovative Trends and Challenges in Applying Big Data and AI in Digital Finance, that focus a bit more on the emerging technologies and how they can be applied and how they can shape the financial sector environment. The fifth section is related to the recommendations that we try to suggest to the readers in order to map those challenges that we identified through research, and also how the European environment and the New Horizon program can support those. Then there are 2 final annexes. The first one is named Deep Dives on Projects and Applications, and it relates to all the different topics that are very important for the financial sector, but were not part of the big data and the AI scope. So for example, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, decentralized finance. So a lot of high quality content that are over there and can, again, foster ideas and creativity. The last annex, the second annex, is a collection of use cases. We have gathered 15 different use cases from the industries, from the European projects, and from companies on different sectors, all in the financial sector, but related, for example, to insurtech, regtech, or other topics. And they provide some examples of real case applications of the financial sector that are bringing innovation all together. So I finished my speech. Now I will give the floor to Tomislav, who, as I said, will focus on the digital finance ecosystem. So the market and trends analysis, but most specifically on the challenges of the digital transformation in the financial sector. So thank you all, and Tomislav, the floor is yours.
Okay, so please confirm if you can hear me and see my screen.
We can hear and see you.
Perfect. So thank you, Vittorio, for the nice introduction. And as already mentioned, my presentation is on the topic of trends and, more importantly, challenges in digital finance with focus on Europe. So my name is Tomislav Đuričić, and I'm a senior researcher at the NOS Center Social Computing team and the university assistant at the Graz University of Technology. With that being said, I will start the presentation by providing a brief introduction on fintech and innovation in the financial sector, but also talk about the stance of the European Commission on the topic. Before we go further, so what is fintech anyway? The term itself is derived from the words financial technology, and there is a nice definition from the Financial Stability Board in which they define fintech as technologically enabled financial innovations that could result in new business models, applications, processes, or products with an associated material effect on financial markets and institutions and on the provision of financial services. In recent years, advancements in technology and artificial intelligence have disrupted and reshaped almost every industry as we know it, and the financial industry was no exception here. While innovation in finance is not a new concept, the focus on technological innovations and its pace have increased significantly. Fintech solutions that make use of big data analytics, artificial intelligence, and blockchain technologies are currently introduced at an unprecedented rate. These new technologies are changing the nature of the financial industry, creating many opportunities that offer a more inclusive access to financial services. While the benefits of fintech solutions are numerous, the introduction of new technological advancements in the financial sector does not come without the risks, as well as concerns on consumer protection and financial stability. Relevant examples are underestimation of creditworthiness, market risk incompliance, fraud detection, and cyber attacks. Therefore, fintech risk management represents a central point of interest for regulatory authorities and requires research and development of novel measurements. The European Commission stance on fintech has been very clear and can be summarized as follows. The European Commission acknowledges that digital finance has a lot to offer and believes that the people and businesses of Europe are ready for it. Europe must take full advantage of this in its recovery strategy to help repair the social and economic damage brought by the pandemic, and digital technologies will be key for relaunching and modernizing the European economy across multiple sectors. At the same time, users of financial services must be protected against risks stemming from increased reliance on digital finance. To be able to do this, Europe needs to close the gap between technical and regulatory expertise, in particular providing risk management procedures needed by both sides. This could lead to further development of a regulatory framework that encourages innovations in big data analytics, artificial intelligence, and blockchain technologies. This stance is reflected in the European Commission's digital finance strategy for the EU, as well as in the EU budget powering the recovery plan for Europe. Now that we covered the introduction, we set out to understand the driving factors behind the technological disruptions in the financial sectors, as well as to understand what are currently the main challenges. We observe that the number of fintech startups in Europe and all over the world is on the rise, even during the pandemic, as the use of financial apps and mobile banking services has increased by 72% in Europe alone as a result of COVID-19, and this is all according to the FinTech magazine. What has driven this rise of fintech companies and technological disruptions in the financial industry? Well, the current competitive landscape has been shaped by a set of forces present for more than 10 years. And among them, we have diminishing profitability as a long-term trend aggravated by the Great Recession of 2008, from which financial and insurance companies never fully recovered, digitalization both from the demand and from the supply side, and globalization expressed in terms of international market integration with common legislation and capital markets. As an answer from the industries themselves, financial and insurance firms have been forced to an endless search of rationalization, focusing on cost reduction and corporate concentration. At the same time, cross-sector competition has increased, with a steady increase of entrants from other industries, especially in the financial sector, as well as startups and new players. As for the consumer perspective, several trends are key to understand the evolution of attitudes and demands. First, higher service expectations as user experiences from other sectors and services such as social networks, media, and entertainment are considered now the standard for finance and insurance as well. Growing awareness and activism against the established market power of financial institutions in services like payments or credits, and collaborative and circular economy applied to finance and banking services with peer-to-peer initiatives around blockchain and lending clubs. These shifts can be partly explained by the rise of millennials as a major consumer cohort with different consumer patterns than previous generations. Financial and insurance digital transformation takes advantage of big data, AI, and Internet of Things technologies in order to improve the accuracy and cost effectiveness of their services, as well as the overall value that they provide to their customers. Nevertheless, despite early deployment instances, there are still many challenges that need to be overcome prior to leveraging its full potential, which could also act as a catalyst for attracting more investments and for significantly improving the competitiveness of enterprises in these sectors. With that being said, we can come to the main challenges for digital transformation in finance, and the first one is data fragmentation and interoperability. Currently, most of the data collected and owned by financial organizations reside in a wide array of fragmented systems and databases. In this fragmented landscape, in some cases, extracting, transforming, and loading the data can consume up to 75 or 80% of the budget allocated to data analytics, while trying to set up seamless interoperability across different data systems. The second main challenge refers to regulatory barriers. Big data and Internet of Things deployments must respect a complex and volatile regulatory environment. In particular, they must adhere to a range of complex regulations such as Second Payment Services Directive, Markets in Financial Instruments Directive, Anti-Money Laundering Directive, while at the same time complying with general regulations such as the GDPR. And navigating through these regulatory barriers is becoming ever more challenging. In order to innovate, you also need access to realistic datasets, but such data are hardly available, as their creation requires complex anonymization processes or even tedious processes for simulating or synthesizing the data. Therefore, innovators have no easy way to access data for experimentation and testing of novel ideas. Moreover, the fragmentation of Europe's fintech ecosystem is a challenge for sharing such resources across organizations and innovators. Furthermore, recent innovations have in several cases demonstrated their value on the accuracy, performance, and quality of the resulting services. However, there is still a lack of validated business models that could drive monetization and deliver tangible business benefits. And finally, it is also important to consider the practices about risk assessment models that may be impacted by new technologies. In this context, banks and insurances may consider how to reshape business, enabling positive value for banks and the consumer. As we slowly progress towards the end of this presentation, there is one buzzword that is being repeated more than others, and that is AI. Financial industry was not immune to the disruption caused by the AI. As AI has streamlined programs and procedures, automated routine tasks, improved the customer service experience, and helped businesses with their bottom line. In fact, Business Insider predicts that artificial intelligence applications will save banks and financial institutions more than $400 billion by 2023. And according to Forbes, 70% of financial firms are already using machine learning to predict cash flow events, adjust credit scores, and detect fraud. AI has become a common denominator in every corner of fintech and digital transformation in finance. This is not surprising, as the fintech industry has always been among the earliest AI adopters, but today AI is becoming the main driver of digital transformation in traditional finance and the golden standard for fintech services. According to a report authorized by the World Economic Forum, by 2022, we can expect mass adoption of AI in the financial industry on a global scale. Otherwise, legacy financial services may become obsolete in as little as 2 years. In this graph from Autonomous Next, aggressive and conservative revenue pool estimates for AI-based fintech startups are predicting a significant increase and range anywhere between $200 and $500 billion by 2030. However, artificial intelligence does not come without some serious ethical challenges, especially when it comes to protecting your personal and financial information. The FinTech Times highlights 3 areas of concern when it comes to AI in the finance sector, and those are different biases, accountability issues, and transparency. To hear more about these topics, stay tuned for the next presentation by Marina Kubura, where she will talk about human-centric, value-driven, and trustworthy AI systems in the financial sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tomislav, for your presentation. Yeah, indeed, AI is a very important topic all throughout this session, but also for the financial sector overall. And as you said, there are a lot of benefits, but also some challenges and problems in implementing it. So Marina will now make a drill down on the ethical challenges and all the different regulations that are now specific for the financial sector. Marina, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Vittorio. And thanks for inviting me to this event. Good afternoon to everyone. I am Marina Kubura. I am a lawyer specialized in research and innovation development with PhD in legal issues of new technologies, and an ethics expert serving both for European Commission and as ethics advisor in many European projects. Today, I will briefly introduce the concept of the AI-driven approach towards human-centric, value-driven, and trustworthy AI system in the financial sector. Considering the specific challenges brought by the AI solutions and the need for tailored responses, the European Commission and the regulators are producing a big regulatory framework fostering European competitiveness. We can mention in particular 3 main pillars which were taken into consideration for the development of the white paper. The first is the recommendation on regulation, innovation and finance produced by the expert group on regulatory obstacle to financial innovation. The second part is the digital finance package, which is really important for us, and in particular we consider a lot the digital finance strategy for Europe, where the concept of responsible innovation is stressed. The third pillar is the Commission strategy by 2024, where a number of priorities are mentioned, such as the need for technological neutrality and the opportunity to have an open finance regulatory framework. The second part of the presentation makes an in-depth analysis of the so-called AI-driven approach in order to be able to reach an ethical and trustworthy AI in the financial domain. We know that the increasing and pervasive use of AI and other autonomous and intelligent systems brings a lot of opportunities, but also biases and perils. And for this reason, it is necessary to produce an ethical framework for AI in order to ensure consumers and individual trust in it. It is very significant in this direction to ensure that there is a fair distribution of costs and benefits, while guaranteeing that individuals and groups are free from any kind of discrimination and unjustified stigmatization. And it is what is called fairness in an AI-empowered financial system. In this direction is moving the global initiative on ethics of autonomous and intelligent systems, which produced in 2021 the Finance Playbook, which is considered a comprehensive cornerstone for the ethical discussion in the financial sector. And it is a sort of key step functional to materialize the ethical principles and requirements in this domain. It is also strongly aligned with the European vision because it makes reference a lot to the assessment list for trustworthy artificial intelligence developed by the high-level expert group on artificial intelligence set up by the European Commission. This Altai assessment list is considered as an actionable tool for implementing and operationalizing the ethical mandates also in the financial sector. It refers to the 7 ethical principles for trustworthy AI, in particular established in the ethics guideline for trustworthy AI, and which have a people-first approach. And the Altai assessment list is used by the book as an instrument for mapping the requirements to the use cases and for delivering an ethical AI solution. We can see that the use cases for the financial services described in the financial playbook are described in 4 groups, and each of them is assessed against the Altai-driven list. We can see 2 examples of the robo-advisor and the personalized marketing offer, where the main ethical implications are respectively human agency and oversight, societal and environmental well-being, and on the other side, the main ethical implication are privacy and data protection, diversity and non-discrimination. Moving to the upcoming ethical and regulatory priorities worldwide in the financial sector, as identified not only in Europe, but also in Canada, Singapore, and other countries, they are this: transparency, explainability, fairness, accountability, human control, safety, and non-discrimination. It is something common worldwide. The last point it is important to mention is the relevance of the certification initiative also in the financial sector. In particular, we can mention the ethics certification program for autonomous and intelligent systems. This is an instrument that could be used also by the financial stakeholder to promote responsible innovation, confidence of the consumers in the financial organization, and the design and implementation of solutions against their criteria could demonstrate the commitment towards a trustworthy foundation of their system, and so help them in bringing trust and a competitive advantage. Thank you.
Thank you a lot, Marina. Indeed, a lot of great content, especially because regulations and certifications sometimes are by themselves driving innovation. And now you have a kind of overview of the AI from the ethical perspective and from all the different challenges and problems that it can bring together. Now Marco will provide some inputs and some data on others' perspectives on artificial intelligence, especially from the banking sector point of view. So Marco, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vittorio. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, can you see this?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you for inviting me to this event. I found it very interesting until now. I just a word to introduce myself. I am Marco Rotoloni, and I'm the coordinator of Artificial Intelligence Hub in Abilab. Abilab is the Research and Innovation Center of the Italian Banking Association. What I'm going to tell you today is some highlights about how digital transformation is taking place in the banking tech sector, and in particular, I would tell something about the Italian context, which I am more familiar with, about AI and fintech. So let's start with AI. Talking with AI, all the speakers that take the floor before my speech said that the artificial intelligence is a really big hype today. Everyone is focusing on artificial intelligence, looking on opportunities, threats, and how to adopt this in the banking and financial context. We try to analyze this phenomenon and understand why artificial intelligence is starting to become hype in this period. And maybe we get two answers. The first one is about the huge amount of data. Since the last decade, data rise a lot in the banking sector, also considering the digital transformation part of many banks. And so more data means that we have more opportunity to analyze data and to create patterns and to adopt artificial intelligence engine to discover something more. And the second is the computational capability. So now also the technological backbone, the architectures of bank are evolving and also leveraging on the capabilities of cloud, for example, it's possible to use more computational capability resources and analyze more data. What are the needs now? As Marina said before, it's important to develop a new culture and to govern the artificial intelligence implementation, taking into consideration risks and also ethical concerns. But of course, another important thing is to understand where to apply artificial intelligence in bank and how artificial intelligence can introduce new opportunities for customers and for the evolution of banking services. Also considering the increasing competition and internationalization that we are living today, and also the rise of fintech realities. So let's start talking about what are the priorities of bank in terms of research. This is a survey that we take in the Italian context in last March, so it's very actual still now. And we can see that the first priority is the artificial intelligence, together with the cloud computing, that is a sort of enabler of innovation. Of course, together with these two hypes, we can highlight the importance of cybersecurity, because when the data rise, the digital transformation is increasing. There are also more risks, and the attention on cybersecurity is, of course, one of the priorities that we cannot forget. Other interesting priority is the data valorization. So understand how to transform data into value for business, value for customers, value for all the stakeholders of the bank. And to do this, another interesting thing is that banks are looking with a lot of attention the open innovation patterns and the open banking as an opportunity to share and to talk with fintech. Globally, in Italy, more than 5.2 billion euros are spent on ICT. So, and we expect another increase of budget by the end of the year. Focusing on artificial intelligence, we can say that the main area of adoption in banks are at this moment focused on the assistance, so internal support or customer support. That's the word of chatbots, the word of virtual assistant, and any kind of robot advisor that banks are developed now. Together with this big attention on the use of artificial intelligence to engage customers, to engage users. Another important thing is the use of artificial intelligence to improve processes, to improve internal processes. So, of course, anti-money laundering, of course, credit, of course, operation, together with, I would say, intelligent business process automation, RPA, and so on. So we are looking at two sides. The first one is customers. The second is internal efficiencies. Both are very high in the priority of banks. And of course, each of these destination of attention can bring a data valorization. We can extract value from data, both if we are talking about customer relationship, both if we are talking about internal process improvement. What are the challenges? This is an interesting question that we ask to banks. We can say that maybe the first two colors, the blue and the green, are the high and very high priority for banks, area of attention. One is availability of expertise and skill. So there is still a gap between the skill that we need to unlock the power of artificial intelligence and the skill that we have right now. So focusing on competence and of course on cultural transformation is core, is something very important to get results. Other area of attention is the measurement of results of artificial intelligence products, because maybe everyone tells that artificial intelligence is something that can bring a lot of value, that bring a lot of opportunities, but can you really measure these results? Can you really measure these opportunities that we are raising? If we cannot measure this in a business perspective, it's very difficult to justify more investment on AI. So one of the focus is measure these results. Of course, maybe there are also some point of attention about the regulatory and explainability aspect, and more in general on the project management of AI. What can we do to support bank in facing all these challenges? That's an interesting experience that we had in Italy. In the Italian banking sector, we developed an AI hub, a community of research, innovation, and discussion between banks, innovation partner, and university, and also research institutes, in order to make together research on AI, discuss about AI use cases and the results that each bank can have reached, make together scouting and experimentation of possible application of AI, and face together the main compliance and regulatory issue. So now the AI Hub is a very active community, 10 Italian banks, 10 innovation partners, and also academia and university, in particular also the Italian Artificial Intelligence Association. And it's a very interesting experience, because maybe working together and sharing experience is something very important to go to the right direction, and not and limiting the risk to do something in the wrong way. So the community approach is very important for banks, very important also for us, and maybe also taking into consideration the fact that the ecosystem is not limited to banks right now, but we have also to consider the fintech phenomenon. In particular, we can see that all banks are still very active in developing partnership with fintech. 64% of banks have already started the partnership with some fintech, and 42% of banks are creating incubators or experimentation frameworks that may help to experiment, to try, and to find new and innovative solutions. Another important activities that banks now are facing is the scouting of the fintechs. So going to the market, analyzing the fintech scenario, and try to understand if there are some interesting initiatives that we can incorporate in our business, or that we can use to launch some shared research and development initiatives with fintech. At the moment, the first area of attention is the payment services, but we are looking also as an increase of attention in lending and account aggregation. So many areas of the business of banks is interested in possible innovation that may be developed with fintech, and also with a dedicated budget that maybe is something very relevant. What is the future? What can we see with the future? So the first thing that we want to highlight also, coherently with what the European Commission is promoting as data economy framework and so on, we see an evolution that starting from the open banking, something from what we did to answer the PSD2 regulation, we already are used to share data about financial services and focusing on banking. The future could be also extend this this sharing of data also to other financial services. Also, for example, not only about payments, but about saving, credits, investment, and so on, in order to develop an overall package of services that is not something about payments, it's only something about the whole financial service, all financial life cycle of the customer. The future could be the open data world, a world in which we are not only sharing information about the financial behavior of customers, but also involving other industries. What can happen also, for example, if maybe energy and utilities can share data with financial services or mobility or healthcare? We can really redesign services for customers that maybe touch every aspect of their life, integrating the financial aspect with the development of any activities that the customer can make. For example, maybe if we have the visibility about the data of customer using, for example, public services, using, for example, public transportation, we can maybe understand where they are. We can understand if they need maybe to buy ticket for a bus using their card, or maybe if they need to reserve a visit from the doctor in the healthcare sector. So open data is the future in our view, and to go there, what we need to do first, we need to consider the increasing competition of the financial sector and beyond. Competition is increasing, and we have taken into consideration this. We have to ensure a level playing field, following the logic that same services introduce same risks and need the same supervision. The problem also is that banking sector is very regulated, other sector not. So we have to pay attention that if a competitor that is not a bank offers the same services of a bank, maybe we need to have the same supervision and the same risk mitigation measures. Then we have to increase transparency, security, ethics, and sustainability. Everyone should be committed on this objective, in particular ethics, in particular sustainability. We think that there are two core elements for the future. And then boost innovation. So experiment, collaborate, create partnership, create incubators and experimentation framework, because only experimenting and working together is possible to create new services that maybe could be a win-win model for everyone. With this, I'm at the end of the presentation. If you have some question, I'm available.
Thank you a lot, Marco. A lot of great content, a lot of data, a lot of numbers. So as you can maybe understand, we are showing all the different trends, analysis, and data that could give us a general overview on different perspectives of how the financial sector is changing, what the financial sector is implementing, and what are the future opportunities and main needs that all the different actors have. Two important things that Marco discussed about and will be taken mainly by Fran in order to drill down a bit are, on one hand, the need of the skills and skill development that all the financial institutions and all the companies overall have, but also the differences that the financial institutions and the banks have in respect to the fintech companies. So Fran, the floor is yours, and I'd like to continue on this wave.
Hi, hello, Vittorio. Thank you very much to invite me for this Congress and for this meeting. I listened with attention to other speakers' presentations, and especially to Marco's underline. So let's talk a little bit about European ecosystems. Let me say my... Are you... Now, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I see your screen.
Yeah, I'm trying to... Now, okay, now it's complete.
Yes,
Okay.
I see your screen in presentation mode. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Just to continue with Marco's approach to what's happening and how are we experiencing the connection between ecosystems in Europe, I'm going to focus on this European Union vision. And first of all, I would like to underline that all these dialogues and bridges between banks and fintech are normally based on asymmetries. Of course, that as we will see later in the past, the most important banks at EU level has created links between the innovation and digitalization teams and the fintech sector, but still being a dance between elephants and gazelles. Why? Normally because banks, as you know, are large companies with a lot of barriers based on compliance, legacy. They take a lot of time to have decisions internally to move up from one technologies to other. And one of the two things that we normally listen from startups, mainly fintech, when we try to connect fintech with banks, are okay, when we go to a bank and we say, guys, look at what we have created. Normally, always we can meet a director or responsible in the table of the banks that say, okay, we already do this. We are very good on that. We don't need you. These are normally what we call innovation stoppers, and believe me, that still being on that management tables. On the other side, we have fintechs. Normally, European fintechs, as we will see later, are small companies, very flexible, really innovative and creative. We are one of the biggest ecosystem, or probably the big ecosystem at global level concerning to fintech and also insurtech implementations. And they have mainly two advantages. They can create fast track products. So fintechs, as you know, are so fast on the creation of products. They always think that their products are new, innovative, and advanced from the technological point of view. But what we have also learned is that fintech in Europe, at least in a B2B or B2B2C based models, need also the data of the banks, the clients of the banks, the structures of the banks to create something new. So at the end, what we have on one side, banks that need innovators, that need new products and services, new ways to digitalize. And on the other side, we have identified more than 3,000 solutions at EU level from different technologies and verticals. We will see later on my presentation that we could connect fast-track way with banks, not just in Europe, but also in the rest of the world. So we have a huge opportunity to move up the fintech ecosystem, the European fintech ecosystem, in the connection with other banks. 5 years ago, this was mainly the situation. Not just these 4 banks, but also the rest of big and medium banks. 5-7 years ago, the situation was, okay, we know that we have fintechs and scale-ups and startups trying to disrupt our sector. They are trying to get licenses. They are talking with the regulator. They are investing a lot of time and talent on new technologies. So we have to do something to connect with. And in the beginning, the first approach from banks to startups and scale-ups at EU level were mainly hackathons, open innovation programs, recognition, prizes, awareness, slow partnerships, what we call slow partnerships, and weak relations between both sides. BBVA, BNP Paribas, Intesa, and Santander, and the rest of the banks, most of them, they start the negotiation with the first innovators creating fintech solutions. What we did in the past from Insomnia, and now I will link this with the Talent Route Network, which probably is of interest of the audience, was okay in Europe. And this was the hypothesis we base the building up of our methodology at EU level. The hypothesis was that okay, we have a lot of innovative companies in payments, in new services for companies, in analytics, in database structuration, in risk analytics, in a lot of things. We are so good, but our companies are small, they are so weak, and they need to connect with banks. And for that connection, they need a bridge, and they need an acceleration program. We are this kind of acceleration programs for fintech. So we base all our methodology in B2B, B2B2C models, and we are also based on the co-creation. What's co-creation? Of course, that you know what's co-creation better than me, but to show in some examples what we believe on co-creation processes, please let me say that when a fintech believes that has gold into the hands and try to sell these solutions to the banks, normally the banks also bet for a new solution in co-creation methodologies with that kind of companies. So we believe in innovation, creation, fast track and adaptability of the fintechs, but we also believe on the potential of the banks as huge platforms with a lot of clients that can connect with the application, with the new technology services provider, a lot of new services to the huge volume of clients they have, not just particulars, but also SMEs and companies. So to do this, we take the decision, the free equity, we are a free equity solution. So we don't invest, we are clear and independent. And this allow us to work with more than 50 banks around the world. Why? Because as we don't have interest in the companies, as we don't have a particular commercial interest in the startups, because we don't invest, we can move all these companies from one bank to other, and that creates medium companies in the beginning and big companies at the end. The ecosystem, just some remarks concerning the ecosystem. We are the biggest ecosystem of fintech in the world. It's Europe, it's not USA, it's not Asia. Why? Because here, as I introduced in my previous slides, companies born not just to fight against banks, not just to fight against the big corporations of payments like Visa, MasterCard, not to fight against the big technologies companies. They normally are created to identify something very specific that they can create added value for. So besides, in the surroundings of the ecosystem of banks at EU level, we have a lot of fintech solutions, a lot of insurtech solutions that are connecting from one country to other. So we can also just determine that we have a good mobility between companies. Of course, that this is something that we need to increase in the next years, but as ecosystem, we are the biggest one. Opportunities, LATAM, Asia, and USA are more difficult markets, but in LATAM, we have a huge opportunity to connect all that we have, all that we create to the needs they are facing in the present. They need financial and social inclusion companies. They need mobile payment solutions. They need artificial intelligence solutions for the management of the banks. They need new core platforms to transfer and pass to the cloud a lot of historical structures they have. So Europe is not just a market itself. Europe is also could be one of the main fintech and insurtech providers, solution providers in the world, if we can create something at European level. And that's what we try. That's what we try. That's what we are trying, and that's something that we also share with the audience and invite you to take part. We create the talent route in 2017 with the cooperation of some of the main fintech hubs at EU level. Now we are. This is not updated. The slide. Sorry. We are 23 countries and more than 30 hubs. How we work in a very friendly basis approach. So once we have a bank, imagine we are cooperating with banks in Spain, with 2 or 3 banks looking for, let's say, biometrical solutions to identify non-banking clients, or artificial intelligence to determine risk analytics of companies. Okay, once we have these challenges defined, we scout, we make this scouting not just at local level but also at European, at global level, and we are able to present the bank the main 5 solutions, the top 5 solutions identified and analyzed by our consultants and our experts. We also have sectorial meetings. We have a map of the main fintechs and insurtech, and we create all the years what we call the galaxy, the fintech and insurtech galaxy. This is very, very briefly what we have in 2020. So we are waiting also for data for these years. And in Europe, the ecosystem, we will see later how is it based on the basis of technologies. But in Europe now, a lot of solutions for SMEs and freelancers. We're still having a lot of movement and interest from companies in payments and wealth management and asset management solutions. And growing up, we have, as you can see on the slide, all these solutions related to cryptocurrencies, cybersecurity, and alternative scoring. So as payment methods decrease in the last years and solutions for SMEs increase, the rest more or less keep on the same brand of the analytics. When we go to do this analysis through technologies, no surprise, but we have a market here. The artificial intelligence and learning machine solutions represent the 50% of the fintech solutions we provide in the B2B, B2B2C models. So what that says, this shows that artificial intelligence, blockchains, and blockchain and cybersecurity interface are the technological basics to invest in the next year to transform these small and medium companies in big companies able to cooperate and work not just with local banks, with regional banks, with national banks, but also with European, and why not with global banks. Tendencies, also trends. The consolidation of the model is something that is clear on the analytics. As you can see on the slide, close to 17% of the solutions are B2C, and all these solutions are normally early stage solutions or neobanks. So both are concentrated on that. So in Europe, and I go back to the argument, our companies don't try to fight to make competence to big banks. They more try to cooperate with, and B2B, B2G models are still growing and growing and growing. Now we have a new trend with what we call B2G. B2G are open innovation programs that try to connect with the startups from the governments. So now we have the local banks, the regulators, but also the European Central Bank that opened a call, a bid last year for this, trying to connect with the startups, trying to keep the dialogue with the innovators in the fintech sector. And I think that this is also a big opportunity to all of us. Now, what we believe, and this is my last slide, is time to engagement. So in the past, as I mentioned, we had all these hackathons, meetings, open innovation programs. Okay, that was nice. But in Spain, France, Luxembourg, Belgium, Germany, of course, United Kingdom, the data and the experience show us that now banks want to strengthen these relations with fintech, but also the market is in permanent movement. And now these cross initiatives are competition and non-competition. So what we can find on the market now are cooperation between Apple, MasterCard, Google is developing a very, very interesting project with BBVA, Amazon with Santander. So now the situation is that we also have not just cooperation between banks and fintech, not just cooperation between big tech and fintech, we also have cooperation between big tech and banks, and big tech and huge banks. So I don't know if this is an opportunity. I don't know if this is some challenge that we need to better define between all of us. But what we are sure is that this is not the end of the game, and that a new period of fintech evolution is going to happen in a very, very short time in Europe. So thank you very much for your attention, and I give Vittorio for questions if there were any in the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you a lot, Fran, and thank you for providing this very broad perspective on the banking sector, the fintech hub, and the innovation overall. So now it's the turn of our last speaker, Clelia, who will drill down even more on the fintech sector, on the fintech ecosystems, and will also utilize some keywords that Fran used at the end. So cooperation, collaboration, and everything put together with the other very important word that we have said today a lot of times, that is open. So Clelia, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Vittorio. Thank you for this opportunity. I think is the last speech, so I will try to sum up what we have said before. I tried to share the screen. Please tell me if you see it. It's okay.
Yes, we see.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I just to sum up, want to sum up what we said today. I'm Clelia Tosi. I'm the head of growth and partnership of FinTech District. I'm very happy to hear about Insomnia. We are like very close to each other. We are the gateway to the Italian fintech ecosystem. So I would like to tell you also something what's going on in Italy, as well as Marco said before. But first of all, I would like to show you what is going on in the fintech ecosystem scenario. We said that fintech is not a new trend, it's something which is real now. And only in the last year, we have more than 5,000 new startups in the fintech ecosystem that were born. We have more than we are close to 130 fintech unicorn worldwide, and the value aggregated of this phenomenon is around $560 billion. So it's something really huge and to pay attention to. Also, from the investment point of view, fintech is one of the most interesting and most valuable asset for VC and CVC. In fact, as you can see to this graph, we have really important new numbers in 2021 after 2022, which was not so good for investment, also due to pandemic reason. A strong growth, as I told you, comes from the VC. And UK, looking at the European investment area, is the main investment hub, but Scandinavia and Germany will follow. So as you can see, also from an investment point of view, fintech is a really important industry and gives a lot of new opportunities for investments. Looking at which are the main important trends, we focus on AI, and then I will tell you also what we think about AI in fintech. But I think that from our perspective, we have 4 relevant trends that we have to assess and to look at. The first one is buy now, pay later. I think that everyone knows what is it, and it is expected to reach 3 trillion by 2030 from an investment point of view. It is a really interesting trend, not because it's not only a B2C model, but a lot of incumbents are now looking at this and to understand how to use it also for their customers. On the other hand, there is an important risk connected to this business model, which is the over-indebtedness of people and the sustainability of the business model itself. So we know that the European Commission and the FCA are now looking at to understand how to intervene on this framework. We have a lot of interested companies that look at this, that do this job. The most important are ClearPay, Afterpay, and Klarna. I know that you know them. Another important trend is revenue-based finance. Is a new way of financing companies. They don't have companies. They don't have to share. To sell that shares to investors, but investors could be just lenders. And so it's changed completely the way how to invest in companies and give also a really clear return on investment and return on opportunities for investor. On this side, we have interesting new and not new companies that are doing these jobs. For example, Capchase, Uncapped, and Clearco. If you want to know better them, I can give you some example and some links together as well after the presentation. Another important trend from our side is asset tokenization. I think everyone knows that the global market is growing. It will be worth around $2 billion in 2026, and it's useful to tokenization is useful because you can give new financial and liquidity alternatives for companies, and also for those who buy tokens, they have the possibility to modify and balancing their investment in a more efficient way. Also from this point of view, we have important companies that are focus on that. Some here you can see some names, and it is very interesting that also from that point of view, some incumbents are looking at them to build up partnership. I think that but I think that the most important trend is open collaboration. We have talked a lot about this during the previous speeches, and also from our point of view, that's the way to work with fintech. Some years ago, fintechs were seen like enemies. I think that friend before told this, and now every bank, company see that collaboration is the best path for long-term innovation and growth. We know that banks and the corporation has a lot of need of transformation, and through collaboration with fintech, they can do it. It's interesting to know that open collaboration is something really important and very focused. Now we have a lot of partnership that comes during the year. Here you can see some of them, with, for example, ING with Minna Technologies about subscription, or Sella with Working Voice about in innovation finance, or for example BNP Paribas with Token for a new way of payments. So collaboration is something real and focus on projects and investments. So it's not only no more like awards or hackathon, as we said before. Also in FinTech District, we try to boost this collaboration. We do a lot of matchmaking activities between corporates and FinTech community. We have more than 200 FinTech, InsurTech, RegTech in our community now. And we foster this collaboration through matchmaking projects and co-creation. We do it as our friends of Insomnia in Italian, with an Italian focus, but also with a connection to international labs. And for example, we organized the Milan FinTech Summit, which is the main event focused on FinTech in the Italian ecosystem, with a goal to positioning Italian and Milan as the capital of FinTech in Europe. I just go very speeding this slide because we have talked a lot about AI in FinTech. So the growth is really huge. I would like only to say that the strongest spend growth over the next 5 years will be in Western Europe. So we are in the center of this growth. And I think that AI is one of the first most important way to do collaboration between FinTech and financial institution. Also, Marco told us that there are a lot of different way of work with AI in FinTech and international and financial institution, focus on different path of the value chain. For example, chatbot, virtual assistant, intelligence data processing, or a recommendation system. And we have, for example, 10 companies in our community that do this for financial institutions. So AI is really one of the most important trend to look at and to foster in order to develop the collaboration between FinTech and financial institution or incumbent in general. I just want to underline this concept so that collaboration is the key for a real and worth innovation. I think that all this panel will talk about this, and we have different challenges that, from our point of view, and also speaking to our corporate member, they need to assess. The first one is about goals. Innovation and collaboration has to focus on growth. For example, new markets, new client, but at the same time is for efficiency, internal efficiency. So you can find FinTech to work with to grow and to find new products and new client, but at the same time to reduce cost and do more savings. The second challenge is strategy. We still need, in Italy, we have to find out how to develop the innovation culture inside the organization, but at the same time, we need a strong innovation governance to look at. So these two words have to go together and to build up the innovation strategy. The third part is ecosystem. We could not speak with startups and with fintechs if we don't have an ecosystem that work together, that is ready and to develop new projects, but at the same time, all the stakeholders have to be connected and interested in doing this job. So thank you, everyone. I hope that this my speech could be a really a sum up of what we have heard today. And thank again. And if you have any question, I'm available. Thank you.
Thank you, Clelia. And thank you to all the speakers. I hope the overall presentations and the overall session was interesting enough and provided to all the audience some ideas or some data or some concept that they might utilize again for their activities. So we still have some minutes left. So I would start now the Q&A session. And I would start with you, Clelia, as you were the last speaker.
Yes.
Especially because you throw like a ball discussing about open collaboration. And I think that's a very important topic. And I think it was quite clear from all the different speeches how collaborating through also different kind of enterprises or sides of industries is very, very important. And I like the fact that you put collaboration together with the word open. That I think is very important. And you described it as a catalyst to boost innovation. So could you please drill down a bit on it by providing me some pros, cons, and also some examples that you can bring with partnerships and the fintech district ecosystem? Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I would like to tell about barriers instead of cons, because I think that the cons are like knowing, but I think that we still need have some barriers to open collaboration and open innovation. The first one that we see also speaking with our members that trying to build up projects and POC with fintech is the need of commitment of the C-levels, and in general to have other strategy which is aligned to this, because this could be also useful to speed international decision-making process, which is decision-making process, which is really one of the most important barriers that fintech, when trying to speak with the corporate, look. The second barrier, I think, is the difficulty to find the right team that could follow the project. You have to build up like a team, like a SWAT team, focus on innovation, IT, legal. We saw before the importance of the ethics and compliance framework. So all these things, and I think that the company has to build up a team, focus on all this stuff. And then, as we can see before, the compliance framework. This is still a barrier specific on the financial sector to develop this open collaboration. Thanks to some regulation like PSD2, something is changes, but we still need to understand better this compliance and legal framework. From the pros, I think that we can focus on two different aspects. I think that a lot of us has already mentioned this. The pros is to do and better develop the internal efficiency, so cost reduction, time to market reduction, and data-driven approach, as we told before. And on the other side, the external growth. For example, new customer, new product, and new market. So what, from our perspective, we see these two areas of pros to open collaboration. We have a lot of example. One is interesting. I just want to underline this because it's Italian and is made by two of our members, which is Sella and the Working Voice. They work together. The Working Voice is an Italian fintech focused on invoice trading. So they build up a partnership focused on PSD2 and independent finance in order to give to sell a bank client, focus on SMEs clients, new way of developing, for example, with innovative financial services like invoice trading or reverse factoring, all activities that the bank do in a traditional way, with this partnership that can do it really more efficient and in a more efficient and more customer-centric way. I hope I answered to your question, and I'm available.
You did, Clelia. Thank you. So I think you mentioned a lot of, I would call them ingredients needed for a successful open collaboration, and both as barriers or as pros. So I wrote some notes like commitment, team, compliance, efficiency, environment as external consequences. So I think these are all very important points. And I would like to ask to Fran in the last 2 minutes, and then we close the session. What do you think about that, and how do you see and how can the European ecosystem evolve in the next years, also based on collaboration and what Clelia just said?
Thank you, Vittorio. Thank you. Most of the main things that, or ideas that have been put into the floor could answer this question. From my point of view, one of the first elements are these kind of meetings. So this kind of meetups, networks between us, this kind of exchange of visions and opportunities. This is something that we need to increase. Our colleague in Italy, they are so good on the definition of Milan FinTech, and they are doing a huge work. We have something similar in Spain, in Denmark, in Belgium, in France. We have Paris FinTech. We have a lot of things, but most of that things are disseminated. If you go to the United States, they have the MoneyConf. If you go to Hong Kong, they have the main hub connected with the distribution of services. Now in Europe, we have 25 ecosystems, more than 200 banks doing similar things. A lot of small companies, fintech, that could increase their results if they could cooperate between themselves and create spin-offs from these joint ventures. So we need to bid for that. So we are working on the creation of an European ecosystem. In other sectors, like the artificial intelligence, like the European Union is putting a lot of money through the European Horizon Europe program and other programs to do this, but we don't have these public resources. On the other side, the market has a lot of resources. You mentioned some figures according the Italian fintech ecosystem in terms of VCs and investments. So figures are important, but in comparison with the global market are insignificant. The same is in Spain. Something similar is in Belgium. Something really similar is facing in Luxembourg. But if we put all this together and if we invite the global VCs to one demo day in Europe, and we can create a catalog of services, saving services and sales services between all of us, I'm sure that we could create something bigger. And we need someone to lead, to promote, and to do this. So thank you very much again, Vittorio, for your work. And we are working also for that, pushing up as much as we can.
Thank you, Fran. So aggregation, ecosystems, collaboration, a lot of great words. And we have finished the time. So I hope everyone, or at least almost everyone, enjoyed the session. And I hope you had a great time and great insights, because we worked hard in order to make this presentation and try to put some contents that could have been useful also for you. Just other 30 seconds and then we close. As a reminder, we are going to publish the white paper in a couple of months. So I encourage you to stay tuned and to look on the BDVA website, because as soon as it will be published, you will be able to see it. And if you want to reach us out, you can see all the names of the speakers. You can reach us out through the BDVF platform or LinkedIn or any other means you would prefer. So thank you a lot. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you have a great continuation of the BDV forum and end of the day. Hi all, and thank you a lot also to all the speakers who are here
Bye. Thank you.
to bring a lot of great
Bye-bye.
contents.
Bye bye.
Thank you, goodbye.
Bye bye.